Alright, here is part 2 of the watercoloring on the Yupo paper. It's spelled Y-U-P-O. Let me see if I can get it. This is the paper that I use, that I have been using. Y-U-P-O. I think I got it online somewhere, but there's a website here. Legionpaper.com. Anyways, it's real smooth. It's really nice. It's kind of expensive, but this is how it looks when the eyes dry. As you remember, I added the brown, then added the black on top, and it just kind of spread out pretty evenly, nice, and it wasn't too crisp of a fade. It was nice and smooth. These other areas, they can kind of look kind of messy. I just need some practice. I didn't spend too much detail on those eyes as I normally do. These eyes, I did spend some time. I worked on this one a few weeks ago, and what I did is I started off with like a yellow. I got some yellow and I filled in this area with it, and then I got some brown and just kind of mixed it in there, and I got like a real dark brown, almost black, and I just kind of dabbed it on the edges, and then I made of course I dropped the big drop there, and then I did a few layers on top of it later. As you can see, it's pretty dark. There's a black layer on top of that. But anyways, after I added the dark brown on the outer edges, I got a real thin brush. I got this one here, and I dragged in the dark brown into the yellow, into that mustard brown yellow. I just dragged it in. You see those little thin lines there? I don't know if you can see it very well, but those are just dragged in. I just dragged them in as it was wet. So remember, after I did that, after I put that yellow watercolor on top of this area, on the iris, I had like at least 20 minutes just to kind of play around with it and just color, and so it took a long time to dry, and the paper didn't wrinkle, it stayed flat. So that's what I did, and I could test it now. What I do is, I'll show you here on the back part, and it erases really well too, so I'll erase it for you too. So let's say you have a brown eyeball, and it's got to be big, I guess, enough for you to play with. Oh, by the way, if you see that area there that has those dots, that's from like finger, or just kind of like your grease from your finger. See, like I'm gonna rub my finger here, and then watch, I'm gonna go over that area. See how it leaves my fingerprint there? It doesn't do well because this paper not only does not absorb the water, but it also doesn't absorb your oil on your skin, so the oil stays there on top, and as you know, oil and water don't mix. But so that's one setback. You have to watch where you're placing your fingers. I don't wear a glove, but I just kind of have a paper ready. So let's say you have a bunch of brown on the eyeball right there, and I'm going to get some black real quick. And I've done this like a few times, so it takes a lot of practice. I still haven't got it, but I'll drop the black right in the center, boop, and it'll do that. And then I'll take some brown, not so much black, but I'll take some brown. There you go. That's about the right color. And I'll get and this is a Chinese calligraphy pen. I bought like a set of 20. It came in this box here. I don't know, different sizes, and just they're all, I think I bought them for like 20 bucks on eBay, but they're really nice. So there I'm getting some brown. Now the black's starting to smear off in a way I don't want it. But anyway, so just showing you here. Take the brown, add it on the outside. Let's say I do that, right? So once I do that, then I'll get my thin brush, and then I'll kind of make sure there's not too much water on it, and I'll just drag the brown in that area. and then it'll mix. So I guess if I wanted to move the black, I could kind of do that. What happened is I added too much black, dropped too much of it in there. The fun thing is that you could always like move it around. You could even take some away, like I'm doing now. I'm taking some of the black out. So I'm just taking out the black and then drying my brush off on my shirt here, just to kind of get that circle back. The fun thing is, it takes a long time to dry. That's the bad part, but the fun thing about that is, the good thing is that you can have time to mess with it and experiment and add some new things to it. So I'm adding the brown back. And if I wanted that area to kind of be light, all I would do is add some water right there. Add some water and just kind of mix it in there. And when it dries, it'll dry. That area will dry kind of lighter than the other areas. So I'll leave that. I'll let that dry if I wanted to keep that. And I would have all those details. I would add more lines if I wanted to, kind of like how I showed you on the other one. So that's how I got those little lines in the eyes. Just kind of drag it, and there's just tons of stuff. But as you can see, I want to show you too how it erases. This area right here is pretty much dry. I'm going to take a little napkin, and this whole thing will erase. Get some water. And just kind of show you this whole thing without, I only have one hand. So this whole thing erases. See that? It erases nice, nice and even, nice and easy. So you can erase the whole thing and start over. The only thing is though, you don't want to add any oil to it. See how it erases really nicely? You just don't want to add any of your skin, or you don't want to touch it with your fingers, because it'll give that area. I think it'll still be there. Watch, somewhere. See that area? That's where I put my finger on, so it still had my fingerprint there. And there's one up here, I think. Yeah, there's two there. Anyways, so that'll stay. The oil will stay. Maybe if I used Windex or something to clean, it would take that out. But anyways, that's the way I color in the eyes. And it just took some patience on that one. I think I started off real light with the yellow, and then of course I went darker and darker and darker. And then I didn't touch it at all. And the next layer I added was like a black layer. I'm sure you can see that, but there's a black layer around the pupil. So I added that on top of that really dark brown. And so that brown just kind of spread into the yellow on its own. And I dragged in those dark lines in there. And all these other areas, like the nose and stuff, these are layers on top of layers, and you have to do it real light. And I sometimes use this brush. I'll turn it to the side and just kind of drag it across the watercolor. Because if I use this brush to do it, it's really sensitive, and it'll pick up the other colors. As you saw, it erases really easily. So I'll use this, and I'll get my colors like this, and I'll just kind of drag it like this, real easy, like that. And it's wet.